Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. As is the case sometimes, we ran into technical difficulties during the recording of this episode, so a couple of bits were lost. I've tried to stitch it together into an episode that you will still enjoy. Sit back, enjoy. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing. On with the show. We are keeping the streak alive.
All right.
Have I got a bunch of these. I should just do a bunch of shorts where I open these one by one because the pile up is just ridiculous.
I took some pictures I have to send you to put on the thing.
Send me pictures because that'd be cool. We'll throw them up on the Instagram.
Yeah. This is the most dangerous looking tool you've used.
Yeah, there was no spackling going on. I was actually clearing a drain with this complete, and I'm going to use it for other stuff that I shouldn't be using it for.
How would you clear a drain with that?
Oh, there's a drain like right outside my door. It's a little small one.
Oh, the one in the concrete. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it gets random stuff kind of stuck in there, and it's kind of a pain. Hey.
Is it the Fonz?
That new Happy Days collection I've been looking for. So this is the Donatello and Metalhead 2-pack.
From the Best Action guys.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Not bad. I've been really excited for this because again, like, these are some of the best turtle figures that have kind of popped up on the market. Like
they are my favorites.
Yeah, so I'm really curious. They're so hit or miss. Right. Their stuff has been very good, so I'm really excited to like pop this Metalhead open.
I wanted to order that because I want Metalhead, but I don't want another Donatello.
Yeah, this is probably like the only good side or upside to not having the original that original colored set, because I got the black and white series,
right?
But I didn't get the just the normal colored ones. And now it seems like they're randomly plunking them in these 2-packs. Like you can get Raphael with the bike. Donatello comes with Metalhead. I'm kind of hoping they do the same thing with Mikey and Leo. Like put them in a 2-pack with something.
Someone.
Like
yeah.
Holy
cow, bunch of Mousers or something.
Yeah, if we get a Michelangelo / 2-pack, like Slash done in the IDW series, so he should be massive. I really hope they do that. Get on it, loyal subjects, or I will not be a loyal subject to your action figures.
You're sort of vanishing when you hold that thing up.
Yeah, that's fine. they know
it's like you're a predator.
They know what I'm talking about. Yeah, if you hear clicking noises, send help. What a super short, very weird crossover that would be, or that Tom gets taken out by a random Yautja that shows up in his house. Like, why? He's like, you hunt down the perfect deals. You're clearly the best prey. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I can show you how to do it on eBay. And then I create the eBay predator, which would be awesome.
Right. But then you have to yell, do it! Kill me!
Bid now! Buy it now! It's sitting there with his finger like just hovering over the buy thing. I'm like, do it!
My favorite line in the movie is when Billy, the tracker guy, stops and he's listening, and then Arnold tries to, garner all his intensity in a whisper, and he's like, "Billy, what's out there?" just keep walking, Arnold. Just keep walking.
How many takes did that get? Like, how did he not laugh when you have Arnold whispering at you?
Billy, what's out there?
Like, stop it. I'm being ridiculous.
Go over there. All right, well, I guess we should get started on something productive while we're doing this. So, every time when you're a kid, you get asked what superhero power would you want, or which superhero would you want to be? And kids are always like, yeah, I'd like to fly, or have mind control, or, whatever. But what they never say is, I want to be the dude that spends his time underwater.
You know, that is true, and yet, wouldn't that make so much sense?
Right.
Like, don't
Especially
you
with the
want
ice caps melting.
now, is this like a genie's wish where you have to specify all the parameters? Where you're like, look,
Yeah,
I want to breathe.
yeah.
You're like, I want to breathe underwater. I want to be able to breathe in both salt and fresh water. I also want to be able to withstand the depths of the deep. So, like, I want to be able to go further
Right. There's
than
a
30
lot
feet
of
down.
information that you gotta think about. There's a lot of laws of physics.
The genie's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you want from me. You can breathe
Right.
underwater
And you
now.
gotta be like, and I don't want to look like a fish.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
give
want
me
gills.
the neck
It's
slits. I don't want the neck slits, please.
right. It's always I always have to think about that. Like, and because I'm a dork, I lay at night. I'm like, if someone granted me 3 wishes of superpowers, like one, it'd be like, I want all of Superman's strengths. I want none of his weakness. Like, cut out the magic crap, cut out the kryptonite crap, right? And then my next wish is, if I'm going to have all of Superman's powers, I don't want to be Superman, so I'm going to need an indestructible Batman suit.
Yeah, because you are gonna eventually get hit with stuff. So that's
Right.
it's required. There is oh, so this will be the second week in a row that I bring up X Files. There actually is an X Files episode that I appreciated where I think it was revealed that they were dealing with the something that was genie adjacent, where it was in
Right.
fact the genie, but it was one of those stupid
The
monkey
great
paw.
kazoo.
Yeah, well, see, I think he would rather have dealt with him instead of one of those stupid like monkey paw genies who's like, I'm going to
Right.
grant you a wish, but there's going to be some stupid,
Right.
mean spirited thing attached to it. So Mulder spends if I'm remembering correctly, it's this great montage of him like essentially going to law school and looking up all the law books, and he plunks down this phone book style pile of papers in front of the genie. He's like, I've gone over every potential contradiction, every potential way you could mess this wish up, and
Right.
I'm ready to make my wish. So the genie's like, really? I gotta read all this? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't want you like I don't want some weird loophole in this
Right.
wish.
Like in the movie Wishmaster, all
Yeah,
those people got screwed.
I think in the
Some of them
edited,
literally. So
but underwater, yeah.
underwater, yeah. And not only did they get a bad rap when kids are asked like what, but they also get a bad rap like in general. Like Aquaman gets a lot of flack.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with a good like water based, and like Black Manta is awesome, but
Yeah,
he's
Black
specific.
Manta's awesome.
His whole goal is to kind of do what we all want to do and horribly murder Aquaman. That's
I
all I
always
want.
wondered, like, does Aquaman have to wait an hour after he eats before
Oh
he goes
yeah,
to fight crime?
yeah. And then does he have to eat an hour before he comes out on land?
Oh, it's like backwards for him,
Yeah,
right?
like can he come out on an empty stomach? And he's like, hold on, he's like stuffing a mollusk in his face.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about like full, like if we want to start with like a full story underwater, we need to talk about the snorks.
100%. Because I still think that the Snorks are an evolutionary offshoot of the Smurfs.
Well, they
I
were
think
created to
I
directly compete, so
yeah,
there's a little Darwinism going
I mean,
on there.
creatively, they absolutely are an evolutionary offshoot of the Smurfs. But
Yeah.
how did we never get a Smurf Snorks crossover? How did Hefty never get thrown into the lake, or Brady like when they would
Well,
throw him out
Brainy
of the
gets
city?
chucked all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that
think he
he
would have
never
landed in
overshot the city and wound up in the water. And they were like, "Don't worry, welcome to the world of the Snorks." And they like I don't know, they feed him seaweed and now he can breathe underwater, or
It
they
was
stick a helmet on.
ironically, the place where they lived was named Snork Land.
Really?
Yeah,
I just
Snork Land.
I this crossover never happened. But I don't think, aside from maybe like the there may have been those single like one slug style figures made of
Yeah,
Snorks.
yeah,
I
they
don't
were
think they
just
ever
like the
had.
Smurfs, the small vinyl ones, because
Yeah.
we had a short time when we were very young.
Mhm.
And the Smurfs came out, I don't know what, 81, 82, something like that. The Snorks
Yeah.
came out later, like 84, but they ran
Yeah.
for longer than people think. I think they ran for 4 or 5 seasons, the
Yeah.
Snorks. Um, and they had those little vinyl figures, and we
Mhm.
used to play with the Smurfs outside because it was cool. We would take the grass cuttings and stuff
Uh,
and make a little Smurf village. And then they made Johann and Pee Wee and Gargamel. They never made Big Mouth, as far as I know. But then
Mhm,
the Snorks television show,
mhm,
Hanna-Barbera, came out in competition with the Smurfs,
mhm.
and they released similar figures.
Yeah.
And we had a couple, but we never like bid onto the Snorks the way we did the Smurfs. Like, I think we need to do an episode about the Smurfs because they were ubiquitous. But the
Yeah.
Snorks just never made it because they were underwater. And I think that's why when we talk from this part on about those underwater guys,
Mhm.
all the cool characters, but they never got really popular because I think kids couldn't play with them.
Yeah, and there's only so much you can do. They'd have to be marketed as usually the water gimmick is just that. It's just a gimmick. Like, yeah, you
Right.
had Ninja Turtles, and yes, they lived in the sewers, but you only had a couple of I forgot his name. It was like Web Splashing Don or something, or even with the Toy Biz Spider-Man line. Uh,
Yeah.
you had your regular figures, and
Oh,
then
yeah, they had, like,
well,
the water blasters or
yeah,
something, right? Was a
there,
gimmick, yeah.
and Venom had that really cool looking Venom ride that had the it was almost like a manta ray got covered by a symbiote, which I'm sure
Yeah.
has happened multiple times, and I don't doubt that we'll see in Venom Part 62 because they'll never stop making those movies. But yeah, it was always like a gimmick that you would when you're like, oh, have fun during bath time and here enjoy
Yeah.
these figures. But if that's your main thing, yeah, with the Snorks, if that's the only thing. I don't know if there's any episodes where the Snorks come up on land
No, I don't
and
recall. I
behold
mean,
horror.
they had the snorkel, which, 1, helped them breathe underwater, clearly, and then 2, it propelled them, like, they would blow air out of it, and
Yeah,
it'd kind of move along like an octopus in that kind of
the
way.
most successful you really get is SpongeBob
Right.
because
Where's the Snork SpongeBob crossover? That seems like a
where
no-brainer.
yeah, have they ever even been referenced in a SpongeBob episode? Because you
I
think
wouldn't be
they would
surprised if
be
they have been, yeah.
at least a couple of times. Because I mean, it's with SpongeBob, it's very much more, I guess, almost Looney Tunes in a
Yeah,
way where like you're not really beholden. They make fun of the fact that nothing underwater works the way that you would think it would. There's the
yeah.
episode where something crashes and it burns up and it's on fire, and they talk about how like why there's fire underwater and nothing makes any sense. So I guess in that you can ignore the rules and you could have SpongeBob do anything. And there's the
Right,
episode where they come up on land and he's just an actual sponge, which is awesome.
right.
But with yeah, if you've got a series and it's just based underwater. Like we can talk about tiger sharks,
Right.
where well, it wasn't based 100% underwater, but the main thrust of the characters was these are guys that are fighting people in the water. Did you have any tiger shark figures?
No, they came out, after we moved on from, our Thundercats
Mhm.
He-Man era
Yeah,
and moved into probably superheroes at that point because
yeah.
we had superpowers and Secret Wars, and so we kind of made that shift when
Mhm.
they came out, and, so we never got them. I still to this day don't have any. Um,
I remember finding out about tiger sharks after, yeah, like after the Thundercats and
yeah,
so
it was almost like the last dying breath to try
yeah.
and keep that
And I
thing
never
alive.
knew exactly what the show was about. So I started creating the idea of what it was in my mind, and I'd seen some of the character designs, and I was like, "Oh,
They're
well, this is
cool.
an interesting idea." And my mind went in a totally different direction from when I finally got to watch an episode, and it's the scientist, and there's the tank with the fish, and there are a bunch of kids, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
oh
the
no, this
toys are
is bad.
completely misleading. If you
This
look
is,
at the toys
this is really
and
bad."
never watch the show, it's completely misleading. The toys are much cooler than the
Yeah,
show.
and I completely forgot. I forgot like the whole basis of the show when the revamped Thundercats show popped up, and
Yeah.
there's a moment when they're on Mumra's like mothership thing, and they're talking about you see Monstar, and then there's clips of tiger sharks, and I think there's actually a moment where Mumra tells uh Leo or whomever to send in the tiger sharks to handle whatever. And I was like, oh, that's super cool because oh, I got to assume that there's a completely different backstory for tiger sharks in this show as
Right. Yeah.
opposed to what the actual show was about.
And if
But
that show had taken off, we might have
mhm,
gotten the Tiger Sharks.
yeah, we may have gotten a better story may have developed at some point.
Yeah.
But I never had tiger sharks, and I never heard of anyone else that really had them. And
No,
then
I
I
said
did
no one.
have
No
them.
one. I don't. I think maybe I've seen one in person 3 times.
Mhm. You know, you know who I think maybe one of the best underwater characters were that I did have a toy of? Godzilla.
I knew you were going to say
Um,
Godzilla.
yeah, because he has had fights both above,
Yep.
underwater, both
Yep.
above the water. When and I may have mentioned this before. When I was younger, I had a um my class did some kind of a, I don't want to say flea market, but like everyone brought something in from home
Mhm.
to get rid of, and we had like a big table set up, and we had all that
Is
stuff on
this
the
the
table.
Captain Lou Albano story?
No, different story.
Oh, okay.
This is not a grab bag. This is
Oh, I got
I
you.
got
Okay.
a pretty some decent stuff from school. Go
Yeah.
figure. But I remember like you all set it aside on the table, and I remember going up there. We would have our names called. You could go up and you could pick whatever was on there. So stuff's getting picked and picked up, whatever.
Wow.
And I walk over, and my name gets called. I walk over, and you know, in the fish market where they have like all those plastic style fish up on the wall,
Yeah.
there was a giant lobster that someone had brought in. Who knows where they got it from? But it was on the table, and I
That's
grabbed it
awesome.
immediately, and that was my stand-in for Ibera because
Yeah.
I loved Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. So that was my like underwater adventure, was Godzilla fighting this. It was my stand-in for Godzilla, who is not Godzilla, but the bootleg,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
the Imperial giant Godzilla
I
stand.
thought of you
It
the
was
other day.
fought for hours.
Not to interrupt you, but I was watching How I Met Your Mother the other day,
Mhm.
and there was an episode where Barney's mom was selling the house or something. He had to clean out his bedroom, and while he's talking, over his right shoulder is your Godzilla
Uh,
on the dresser. Yeah,
it's such a common, and I wonder how many other people, especially how many toy collectors or even non-toy collectors, people that just like knickknacks and whatnot. I wonder how many people have one of those, or just
yeah.
have one sitting around. It's a cool looking figure. It's not obtrusive. It's just a cool thing. Like you walk past and you see it, and you're like, oh, neat. It immediately reminds you of Godzilla because everyone knows who that is,
Yep.
and it's just a fun.
Yeah, it's clearly Godzilla.
Yeah, you don't have to make a conversation about it. But I imagine so many people. If you're anyone above the age, I just feel like everyone has seen this thing, or if you
Yeah,
see it,
yeah,
you know what it is.
yeah. What reminded me of the Tiger Sharks when it came out in like '97? The Legend of the Shark Man figures. Do you remember those?
Oh, was that the one that I don't think he was? I don't think he had a surfboard, but there was
Yeah,
like
yeah, it was a
he had a
surfboard dude, and he had the
companion.
chick Anira or
Yeah,
something like that. And
wasn't there a crab villain of some kind?
yeah, the prawn guy is
Yeah.
amazing. He's one of my favorite figures that I have on display. That
Oh,
prawn
you got it.
guy.
I
Hmm.
remember seeing him, but I didn't get him. But yeah, I liked that period of time where it was because Image had come out, and it was more of a, let's see if we can make our own toys, because we
Yeah,
now kind of like
any
know the.
comic book, even the
Yeah,
indie ones, were getting something. Yeah.
that's really cool. That was like the that what was it? What was he called? Eagle Man. There was another toy line that came out where it's just
Yes.
Eagle, and they were like, America, here's a
Yeah,
little dude. It was
and no
not
one
a
wanted
bad
it.
idea. Just
We just take the one from the Muppets,
well,
and we'll be
weird.
fine.
Yep. But yeah, I completely forgot about Shark Man.
Yeah, but that prawn guy is amazing. And
Yeah,
Sharkman's built like he's the same size as like the Tiger Sharks, except
yeah.
he's wearing, little luau shorts and a tank top. But and Doc Toxic was the bad guy, and he was
Uh-huh.
a little bit weird. But that
What
prawn made the whole collection.
now? What would you classify street sharks as? I mean,
I
I
was
guess it's
thinking about them.
I,
They're like there with Jabberjaw, right?
yeah. I mean, I
Like
guess it's in the name. It's street sharks, so you could use them as
yeah,
above ground play, and it's fine. But do you toss them in the pool?
I don't know. I've got two of the new ones just over there. I just picked them up.
You know,
Um,
Mattel was super smart in their remake, and I really hope they get around to doing Extreme Dinosaurs. I hope that these sell
oh, that
well
would be
enough so that we do
awesome.
Extreme Dinosaurs. I
That
want
would
Ad
be
Rock.
awesome. Well, they've released series 2, so they've got
Yes,
2 series out, so
not bad.
going pretty well.
I hope they keep rolling with these.
Yeah, so yeah, Street Sharks. It's like I always thought of them like Jabberjaw, where somehow magically these sharks just hang out with roller skates and
Well, well, isn't their origin almost like surprisingly similar to tiger sharks? it's some weird scientist guy. It's a
Yep.
bunch of teens who say radical, and
Right. Well,
they
who doesn't?
you have to, and then they become shark creatures just with strange proportions.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of that weird stuff in the 90s. I remember I was thinking about water play, and vaguely remember a half-baked cartoon that I don't think ever got toys because it was
Mhm.
horrible. It was like Captain Future or something like that, where they
Wow, that's
lived in this like underwater thing.
I've never
Like,
heard of this.
look it
This
up. I
this
have a
sounds
vague, and maybe it's one of those fake memories that I have, government implants or something. But
when did it come out? Was this the
in
90s?
90 something, early 90s, 93 maybe.
Mhm.
It's like Captain Future, and they lived in
Huh.
this underwater thing like in deep blue sea.
Mhm.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I don't think it ever got toys, but it was much. So, I think about when I was a kid, and even then I had that I have to have them all mentality,
Mhm.
right? But I remember the water guys being a bummer. And like I said, I think that's why they've got such a bad rep now. Because I remember when, like, playing GI Joe
Mhm.
and Deep Six and the shark. It
Mhm.
looked like a plane, so I never put it underwater. I
Yeah.
used it as a plane. And then Torpedo came out,
Mhm.
and just recently they've done the classifieds Torpedo, but he looked
Yeah.
like old school Frogman, Scuba
Mhm.
Steve kind of thing. And he came with a spear gun. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell am I going to do with a guy with a spear gun, right? So it was always like, torpedoes, torpedo. And then, I found out that he was a Navy SEAL.
Mhm.
The next one they had, they were like Navy SEAL. Well, so that made him a little cooler. He wasn't just a frogman, he was a Navy SEAL. So that's sea, air, and land is a Navy SEAL. So he became a little cooler. And the second release of him
Mhm.
was cooler. But then they also released Wetsuit, which had the green scuba. So
Mhm.
he was a little cooler than the original Torpedo. But what made Torpedo even more lame was he came out the same time as the Cobra Eel
Yeah.
guys, which were awesome. The Cobra Eel guys were so cool. And then like they came out to fight Torpedo, who is this lame-o with a spear gun and a regular old rubber suit, right? You're like, I've seen this on Nat Geo. I don't need a toy. And this guy,
Here's a question for you. Did you know that the USS flag could float?
no, that makes
I,
sense.
I had no
I would have
idea.
never put it in the water if I had it.
I no, not at all. I had no clue. I mean, I did not own it. I had no I like it never crossed my mind that that would be something I would ever have in my
That's one of the
possession.
things where if I ever got the flag, I might be
Mhm.
done. Like you were talking about that Godzilla that you had that
Uh-huh.
for a while you were like, no, I'm done. If
Mhm.
I get the USS flag, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, like that's where do you go from there?
Right.
There's not much else left. Which is why it might be a good thing that I was not able to get Cat's Lair. Although I'm
Right.
still hoping. I'm still gonna see if I can work that out. It's
Yeah.
coming out soon.
But
But
the first water guy that actually struck me as being cool
mhm.
was Merman.
Yeah, that is very true. I
Except he
thoroughly
had that
enjoyed
corncob sword, which I guess was supposed to be coral. But
I
at
guess
least
so.
Merman could hold his own. Like he had a sword like everybody
Mhm.
else. He was pretty buff, he could
Mhm.
hold his own on land, where Torpedo would just sweat his butt off and get killed because he only had a spear gun.
Like you can take the suit off anytime you want, Torpedo. Nah,
No,
I'm good.
he's like,
I'm
no,
good.
it's thinning, it's compression.
I actually need to keep it on. But yeah, Merman is a great character, and it's interesting how they keep kind of changing the backstory on. Like in the cartoon, we just don't know where he came
Yeah,
from
he
or
was
why
just
he's
like,
there or why. Yeah,
I
or what.
love that he had that bubble voice.
I love that that's a through line for like aquatic characters. Like they're
Yeah.
constantly gargling scope or something. But, remember, like the guy from Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the cartoon, who was
Yes.
the wetsuit. Like when he's talked, it was always that. Or anyone that makes
Yep.
fun of Aquaman, that's always like they always do the gargling voice. But I like that the backstory for Merman kind of keeps changing depending on if you're watching the cartoon versus reading the comics. Where in the comics he's a big deal, where he's
Yeah.
like king of the fishmen. And I was like, well, then why is Skeletor calling you a stupid boob? Why are you
Yeah.
taking that from him? Like instead of like rising up and killing him with a kraken. you would think, and I like that they played around with that a little bit in Revelations,
Yeah, they did.
where he got to be kind of a big deal for a little bit, and then he was gone.
Right.
I would like a little more of that. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't mind there
Plus,
being.
he was voiced by Kevin Conroy in Revelations, so
Oh,
if that doesn't make him cooler, I don't know what does.
you got to do him right. Oh, I miss Kevin Conroy. But I would actually love for there to be a new faction introduced, because we've got the Horde and we've got the Snake Men, who I do love, and now nothing will replace them. But I think it would be kind of cool if going forward, if we're progressing with the He-Man mythos, let's do something cool with Merman and give him his own like It seems like the seas of Eternia could produce a planet-wide threat of some kind. Because if Aquaman really wanted, and I applaud any writer that makes Aquaman or tries to make Aquaman cool, where they're like, where all the giant things live. They're in the water.
Right. His coolest rendition was the Justice League cartoon and Justice League Unlimited.
Yes, best versions of Aquaman. But yeah, give me like super cool Merman, because I actually do like the offerings that we've been getting from like the new Masterverse version of him. Looks really cool, but I also don't mind getting the Revelations version, where he's got the scarred eye and he's he doesn't have quite as much armor, but then the later version of him does. They look great, and I wouldn't mind like stockpiling him. Give us some new him and Clawful. Same thing with Clawful.
Yeah, you're right. Clawful
would
be a water guy.
He was another one that they kind of expanded upon, and I would love to see more with him in the 2000X series when they showed other Clawfuls. And I was like, yes, that's really cool. Give me more crustacean people.
Yeah, and then then there are water guys just, I don't know, like Hydro Man, like he's a joke. Like he could be beat by Moana.
It's a little bit of shame. It's kind of a shame that a character that should be as cool as Hydro Man. I like that they kind of counter how cool he is by just making him a dumb jock. Like he missed his audition for the Wrecking Crew, so he had to settle for being able to turn himself into water.
Into water.
Wait, you know who is really cool though? Like one of my favorite water-based characters, and
are you gonna say
ever got a toy?
The one of the Wonder Twins?
No.
Are you going to say one of the Wonder Twins?
No, not one of the Wonder Twins. Although the Cartoon Network commercial with the two of them bickering is one of the best things in the world.
Is that what he says? I can be beat by a sponge? It wouldn't even have to be an evil sponge.
the cut to the evil sponge that looks like he's dried out. He's got the sharp teeth. So good. But I don't own the Wonder Twins. But you know who I do wish that they would make a really good figure of? Liquidator from Darkwing Duck.
Yes.
He was awesome. I loved Liquid. Like he was. If we're ranking Darkwing Duck villains, for me it's got to be Negaduck, and Liquidator is like a solid number 2 because he's awesome. And I don't know why he only appeared in a handful of episodes. But
no, and I haven't. They did a recent Negaduck and the Darkwing Duck, but I haven't seen him.
I really wish they would do the rest of his rogues gallery, because they were surprisingly cool. There's a lot of really cool villains.
And the original Darkwing Duck line from Playmates was cool. Like I have those. They were very well done.
Now him being a duck, or I'm sorry, a mallard, you'd think that there would be like a few more water-based characters there. I mean, because there was Liquidator, but then that was kind of it. You had there was one lady who was made of ice, but that's not really, it's not really a water-based character. What about Pirates of Dark Water?
Yes, I love that line of figures.
I was not familiar with it. I knew of the show. I knew they had toys, but I didn't own any of them.
Those figures are fantastic, and I'm waiting and praying for some company to update that figure line, because Bloth, the leader of the pirates, was fantastic. God, we need to do I think we need to do. I think next week let's do 90s cartoons.
Oh,
produced action figures. That's next week. So we're gonna stop talking about Pirates of Dark Water right now because they're gonna be next week, calling it 90s cartoons. Okay.
Sounds good. Uh, so
You know, but everybody had that obligatory fish guy for a while that bit off a merman. Like even Black Star
Mhm.
had that one, like they had the cat guy, and then they had the fish looking guy that looked like, Merman's uncle.
it was kind of required. Um,
Mhm.
but I always kind of preferred, or I always leaned towards, and that's just because I like giant monsters, anything that came from the sea. So something like the Kraken.
Yes.
Even though I'm not familiar with the toy, I always loved the movie, and the coolest part of the whole movie, aside from Medusa, was when they raised the Kraken, or any sort of like deep sea, especially in like the late '80s, after we got like Deep Star Six, and then
Yes.
another movie called like Leviathan or something.
Leviathan, yeah. And then we had the Abyss, and we had blah blah blah. We had a bunch of them.
No toys of any of those. I don't think. I don't
Nope.
think whatever made the Deep Six monster.
Nope.
No one wants any Abyss toys. That's we can live without those.
I concur. But what was the Kirsten Stewart movie that we saw? That was the
Oh,
Pool Monsters
underwater.
underwater.
Surprise hit.
Yeah.
Surprise hit. I was not expecting to enjoy that as much as I did.
Some
Uh,
toys of that would have been cool. But even Aquaman gave us the trench, which had cool
True.
underwater monsters, right?
Yes. Yeah, the toys that they made for those, or the movie based trench toys. Oh, man, what a misstep by DC to
Yeah.
make like, why was
That's
the
sort of
trench
the part of the
monster
course.
why was the trench monster the build a figure when like that's your troop builder? Like, why
Right.
release a 3-pack of those? Although I think they tried to I guess maybe fix their mistake in the next line, the one that came out for Aquaman 2, where you've got like that. I don't remember the name of it, but he's a pretty decent sized fish creature. It looks like he's wearing a wetsuit almost.
Yeah.
That's a standalone, and he looks really good. But yeah, the design of the trench creatures is excellent, and I love that for just for 5 minutes of Aquaman, James Wan couldn't help himself and gave us a full on like horror movie, and it was
That
great.
that
Honestly,
that
my
wide
favorite part.
shot where
Yeah,
it's dark and there's just the
I,
one light. I think it's his trident, and
you
then just a swarm swimming up. It's a
you
great shot.
you can clip that segment, and it's its own standalone Aquaman horror short, and it works.
Mhm.
It works perfectly fine, completely outside of the movie. And I was like, was this what he submitted to get permission to do the Aquaman movie?
Yeah, and
Because
then the
really
rest of it
good.
happened.
That's unfortunate, but yeah, give it more trench figures would be great, because I would like to see some more comic based trench figures, because somehow they're even more disturbing looking if you look at their.
Yeah, they're very cool. They're very cool. So before we sign off, are we forgetting any water?
We are purposely leaving out Ocean Master because he is ridiculous, and I've never seen any version of him that is cool, and nothing that they do to him will make him cool. I'm
No.
sorry, Ocean Master. It's
Oh God, why am I blanking on the Marvel equivalent?
well, on the Marvel side, you've got, I can't believe I forgot his name. He was in like a, I remember him being in a 3-pack. Tiger
Yeah.
Shark. I think his name is just Tiger Shark. Where he's
No,
got
that's
the
not what I'm
advanced.
thinking of. But yeah,
I mean, they've got their fit. There's the eel. There's the eel from
yeah, yeah.
that's random Spider-Man villain. Some of the members of the Serpent Society can kind of double as your water-based figures. I mean, we've mentioned Hydro Man, and do you know what I want? And
Oh
they
God, here we go.
I want. And I don't know where it comes from or why they did it. There was a Toy Biz version of Venom where like, because they released Hydro Man, and he had like the big water fists and whatnot.
Mhm.
There's a version of Venom that came out where they just swapped in Hydro Man's arms, so it's Venom, but he's shooting Hydro Man water. Why?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
I remember that figure. I don't know
but
why they did that, but they did a cool Spider-Man with that line, who
uh,
was made to look like he was swimming, and he
mhm,
had
yeah,
webs, right?
mhm,
And he had the longer arms. It looked like Michael Phelps Spider-Man, but they even did his legs so he would look like, if you put him horizontally and
uh,
posed him and put him on something, it looked like he was swimming. It was well crafted in that way, but in regards to using him as a figure, not in the water, because how many times are you gonna put Spider-Man in the water?
yeah.
It sucked, just like all the other water-based guys.
I remember liking the Doctor Octopus from that line, but his little flotation device thing. I know it was supposed to be an octopus because it
Yeah.
had the little like squiggly arms, but
I
instead
forgot about it. It was actually, yeah.
looked much more like a jellyfish than it looked like an
Yeah.
octopus. He just can't win. You can't win if you're
Yeah.
Doctor Octopus.
Even the cool boats, like you had the water moccasin and
Yeah,
hovercraft for GI Joe, and it's
yeah.
like I got them because I wanted
Mhm.
Copperhead, but I I barely used them. They were like display guys, or you know what I mean? Like the hovercraft. I don't think I ever put the hovercraft in the water. The water
No.
moccasin, I don't think floated. If I
Mhm.
remember correctly, it sank. Because it was split, like it was two pieces of plastic
Yeah.
molded put together, so there was a seam all the way
Mhm.
around that just clipped
Mhm.
together. And I think if you put two figures in there and put it in the water, it leaked and sank. Um, so no, like the water toys, no matter how well they designed them, they just weren't. They just didn't hold up. You just didn't want to use them.
Because even like Transformers messed around with like your boat characters. You had Sea Spray, who was fun. Also talked with the Gargle
Right?
because of course he did. You had like your Sea Spray. One of the most recent Titan size figures that came out is Tidal Wave, who's just a gigantic boat.
Yeah.
Can't put him in the water. Like that's not how you play with Tidal Wave. You
Right.
can't. I mean, I guess you can bring him in the pool, but he's not going to float. There's nothing in there, as far as I know. There's
Yeah.
nothing in there that makes them float. They've
Nope.
had their fair share of boat characters, but yeah, like no one that's you know.
I think the
No one
hovercrafts
feels-
actually floated because they had the hollow black thing around it. But we used to buy the cheap boats, like I told you, from the Gateway Pharmacy down the road for like two
Mhm.
bucks.
Uh-huh.
Those cheap plastic things, and I put the Joe sitting in there, and man, they'd be, Flint would be buzzing around in a 12-foot Bayliner with no guns on it, and he'd beat the water moccasin because it would just sink.
Conrad was really upset. He was like, "Why does Cobra Subhead making decent? I don't understand."
Yeah. No, nothing good came of it. Nothing good came of it. So I think this is the first episode where we spent most of the time besmirching the toys that we were speaking of.
What terrible water toy! Don't do it. Don't get them. Don't get them, people.
The characters are boring. You can't play with them. The boats
Stick,
don't float. Just
stick,
stay away.
stick with your glow in the dark NECA released creature from the Black Lagoon, and you're only going to use him when he's walking around on land. That's
Right.
the best you're going to get.
Oh yeah, the creature from Black Lagoon's another one. Like all the cool monsters, and
Yep, they
he's just standing there.
they immediately crawl out of the water because they're like, I don't want to be here. This is not
Right.
Ariel lied. This is not Sebastian lied. This is not where you want to be.
He's
Things
calling
are
out
not.
to the wolf man to wait up for him. He's like, "Wolf!"
He's like, I can't understand you. What? That's the whole interaction between the whole interaction between
Yeah.
the two of them is just what? I don't understand. All right, well that sounds like, yeah, I think we've besmirched them enough.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Let us know what your least favorite water toys are. You can get a hold of us on Two Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. You can get a hold of us on Twitter. That's also our handle for Gmail. Thank you for enjoying the show. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Tell your friends, tell your creatures and Black Lagoons how much you can't stand them. Tell them.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.